In this video, I'm going to show you how to go from this to this. And all I did was change the color grade. Okay, so here's a clip I shot on the Sony a7 IV in 10-bit 422 all I in S-Log3. So what we're going to do first is we're going to come over, click on our node, and we're going to do a search in our library for color space transform. And then we're going to drag and drop that on. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this to convert our footage into Rec 709. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to input color space and we'll change it to Sony S Gamma 3 Cine. And then for input gamma, we'll change it to S-Log3. And so you'll see it right off the bat. What I did was I exposed for the highlights in the background and not for the subject in the front. So in order to get that effect to work to where, you know, if you're filming somebody in shade and you want to get the background to look nice and to get it to be exposed, you want to expose for the background and not your subject in this situation. And so basically what we're going to do here is we're going to work backwards. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this node and then I'm going to go to add node and we're going to go to add serial before. So when I do this, this just works on the log footage and not the output, the Rec 709. We're going to come over to our contrast and we're going to adjust it to about there. Okay, so a lot of you guessed it. In order to adjust the exposure and the color grading on our foreground subject here, I'm going to have to isolate that using the Magic Mask tool. So to do that again, I'm going to right click on this node, go to add node, go to add serial before. Okay, and then I'm going to come over here down to Magic Mask. And then I'm going to draw a mask around the subject here. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. And then what I'll do is make sure it's set to better. And then I'm going to come over to here, render backwards and forwards. And we'll just sit back. Depending on the speed of your computer, this could take a minute or two. Okay, so once I've masked out the subject, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to work forwards now. So I'll come over, click on my masked node here, right click, go to add node, go to add serial. So now it's important here that we just want to work off of this mask here. And in order to do that, we need to connect these two blue nodes together. So I'm going to drag, so I'll zoom in so you guys can see this. So I'm going to drag a line here, just make sure it's connected there. Now everything I grade here will only show up within this mask. I'll show you what I mean. So if I come over here to my Luma curve, I start adjusting, you'll see it's just affecting me right now and nothing in the background. So for this first one, we're just going to go very subtle. We're actually going to go a little bit darker here at the top. And then we're going to go to add node, add serial, connect the two blue nodes again. Okay, so now we're going to bring up our shadows down here in our curve. Okay, now we're going to make another node still connected to our mask here, and we're going to bring the shadows up even more. Okay, so we're going to create another node, and we'll make sure to connect the blue dots again. So let's go ahead and sharpen this a little bit. So I'm going to come over to our sharpen tab over here, and for the radius, I'm just going to click on this blue one here and turn it down to about 0.48. I don't want to go any lower than that, otherwise it looks really fake. So obviously the subject is very cool, the background is very warm, and it still looks very out of place. So what we want to do is we want to try to match the temperature of the subject to the temperature of the background since we're outside. And so the easiest way to do that is simply to come back over to our mask tab, and then we can go over to temperature, and we can turn this up to about 340. Again, we don't want to overdo it too much. Okay, so I'm landing on around 330. So again, you can tweak that to whatever looks best for you. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is I want to add in a film look creator to this just to add some texture and also just to make the skin tones look a little bit less Rec 709-ish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to my last tab in the chain here. I'm going to right click on it, click add node, add serial, and then up here in my dialog box I'm going to type in film And then we'll go to Film Look Creator. Now when I apply this, it's gonna look a little weird. So we're gonna make a few adjustments here. Okay, so first and foremost, we're gonna turn our contrast down. We're gonna put the skim bias all the way up to 1. And we're gonna put the highlights all the way up as well. And then for white balance, we'll move this around a little bit. Okay, and then for subtractive saturation, we'll crank this up a little bit, add some richness to it. And for the exposure, we'll turn this down a little bit. So that's pretty aggressive. I don't really like how aggressive this is looking right now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna scroll down and go to Global Blend. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn the blend down. So if I go all the way down, that's what it looked like before. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to just keep cranking it up until it's at a point where I like it. So this is all the way up again. That's all the way back. So let's try to find somewhere in the middle here. Okay, so because I cranked up the gain so high on our subject here, I wanna make sure there's no grain that looks weird on them. So again, I'll just right click on my last node here, and we'll go to Add Node, Add Serial. And then to top it off, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come over to my noise panel here, motion effects. And for noise reduction, we'll just do some basic noise reduction here. So we'll just go to frames, click 3, come down to the temporal threshold, and we'll adjust that to about 24. And what I'm doing here basically is I'm just reducing the noise just a pinch here. This makes a world of difference if there's a lot of noise going on. All right, so there you have it. That is the completion of our graded image.